Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this live broadcast on shared services delivery at the Global Services Sector Career Summit. My name is Gloria Henry, and I'm your host today. And I'm going to introduce our esteemed panel. We have Nancy Dahlberg, who is Vice President Human Resources at Continuum. And Continuum is a global service center operations. They are based in Jamaica, as well as the United States. And Nancy will tell you more about Continuum when she speaks. Then we have Michelle Locke, and Michelle is Global Head of Business Support at Digicel Group. And everyone knows Digicel has been a game changer in Jamaica, providing innovative service delivery, and they are operating in over 33 countries across the world, the Caribbean and other parts of the world. And then we have Kishman Spence, who says he's the thorn amongst the roses. He's Executive Director of Jamaica Extended Services at KPMG. It's a shared services center that we're very proud of. Jess is fairly new in Jamaica, but has been a game changer. And Kishman will help us understand, quite a bit about what is happening at KPMG. So, members of the audience, thank you for joining us. And I am really just the host. The experts are these ladies and gentlemen that you're going to hear from. And as we discuss the topic, and today's topic is really looking at shared services delivery, opportunities in finance, accounting, HR, IT, and more. But let me just tell you a little bit about this global services sector in Jamaica. So you probably know it as the BPO, business process outsourcing sector. We've been in operations for over 30 years and started in Montego Bay and have expanded across Jamaica in almost all parishes, with the exception of Trelawney and St. Thomas. We have over 43,000 workers employed in the sector. We generate over $780 million per year to the economy of Jamaica. And we're the third largest employer of labor in Jamaica right now. We have been very resilient in supporting our businesses, our customers. And even during the pandemic, we have remained open, one of the few sectors that have remained open during the pandemic. So you know about this BPO and front office work, but what you didn't know is that even though 80% of what Jamaica does is in BPO, we are also heavily involved in knowledge process outsourcing, which shared services is part of that. Part of our value proposition going forward, should have started 2020, but I'd kind of say that 2020 did not really happen because of what happened with the pandemic. So our goal is to really move towards a 60-40, meaning 60% BPO and 40% knowledge process outsourcing, which is what our esteemed panel will talk to you about today, the opportunities that exist in that sector. Global services, shared services is set to reach $284.4 billion by 2027. So there is tremendous opportunity in the global services sector. So I'm going to start out first with Kishman Spence, and Kishman is going to tell us about what he does at GES and what are the opportunities for employment at KPMG GES. So over to you, Kishman.
Thank you very much, Gloria, and good afternoon, Jamaica. Good afternoon, job seekers. Welcome. My name is Kishman Spence. I've spent the last 22 years or so working in this space supporting customer touchpoints. And my venture into this space started totally by accident. I got a job at Cable and Wireless as a customer service frontline representative. And who would have known 22 years later that this is where I would be? Through the years, I've touched a number of things in the kind of contact center and shared service space. I've worked in process improvement. I've worked in workforce management. I've worked in IT. I've worked in quality and training. I've worked in vendor support, kind of the full 360 of the house. And, I've worked with teams across the Caribbean. In my early career at Cable and Wireless, I was setting up contact centers across the Eastern Caribbean. And I later moved to Vistaprint, where I had opportunities to manage and lead quality teams across Europe, across Asia and Africa, including setting up a brand new contact center in the Philippines. A year ago, as fate would have it, the pandemic, the year that Gloria says doesn't exist, brought me to KPMG Jamaica, and certainly a new phase of my career, which I'm very excited about. And let me tell you a little bit about the KPMG shared service. For years, KPMG has been around in Jamaica under different names for about 100 years. We are well known as a tax, audit, and advisory business. And we see shared service and outsourcing as really the kind of fourth pillar on which our business stands. It started, or foray into it started in 2016 with one single process, which we actually were taking from India. You know, India is one of the giants in the shared service and outsourcing space. And they were doing payroll processing for KPMG USA. And for a number of reasons, of which Jamaica is really blessed, we're uniquely positioned, you know, an hour and a half away. We speak English as our first language. We offer friendly, fast, you know, interactions and real-time collaboration with the continental US. And so one process 5 years ago have now blossomed into well over 30 unique shared service processes. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of those processes, but also want to give you an idea of how rapidly our business is growing. When I joined last May, the business had 230 employees. As I speak to you today, we have 380, and my recruiting manager is now trying to fill 70 or 80 open recs. So, you know, in a very short time, we've been able to move from, you know, just over 200 to now well over 400 in a couple months. Now, what do we do? I think the first thing I'd say is I grew up in the contact center, so there's absolutely nothing wrong with contact center. At KPMG, we don't have a contact center. What we have is a shared service delivery center. And what do we do there? Our largest line of business is finance and accounting. We manage 7 unique accounting shared service process for the KPMG US firm. You know, general accounting, accounting receivables, accounting payables, payroll, you know, engagement management, coordination, a range of process. What makes what we do unique is that we are not in this spirit an outsourcer. We refer to what we do as a team extension model. And it's a team extension model because together, employees who are in GES and employees who are in KPMG USA are very often working side by side, delivering the same output. So it's not you know, you do some work and throw it over the fence to us, but, you know, the teams are really one team virtually distributed across the globe. So as a global delivery center, the finance area was really our bread and butter, so to speak. And we started then to move into HR shared service. And in HR shared service, we do a lot of work to do with how employees are recruited and onboarded and how their continuing professional education gets done and offboarding of employees. But what has been perhaps the area that has excited us the most is some of the work we're doing on the very high knowledge process end of the market. And what I'm talking about there is KPMG as a business in the USA is always in the business of trying to land new customers, writing proposals. And, you know, one of the things that we've been able to grow and do very well at and are actually impressing them is our ability to start those proposals. So we have a team of proposal writers in Jamaica who are writing sometimes as much as a $6 million US proposal, which then, you know, goes into the US for the finishing touches and then gets out to the client. So really high value work, teams working autonomously on. We also do a lot of work.
But I'm sure our listeners and eager job seekers would want to know, what kinds of qualification do you look for those kinds of work?
Right. I think as a starter, you'll find that across our business, we generally ask for a first degree in the assigned discipline. So in that discipline, what you'll find is we're looking for people who have a strong background in business and professional writing, or, you know, generally a business oriented degree and with some experience on the professional writing side. So it's it requires really advanced writing skills, to be able to do that really well, and really rapid understanding of business. So, there's that team. I think one of the feathers in our cap as a shared service center, certainly during the pandemic, is that the US actually gave us their entire procurement operations. So all of their technology and general purchases is done in Jamaica. And then the pandemic struck. So a lot of them perhaps were wondering, how is this Jamaican business going to stand up to, procurement buying and them sending their workforce home? And I would tell you that they stood and scratched their heads and said, we don't understand how the productivity of team members here was threefold what they had become used to in the US. So we essentially sent home the KPMG US team. They had to get lots of items and equipment to work from home during the pandemic, and all of that was supported here. So, we're building out this logistic and procurement business as well. One of the new thing, which, when my recruiting manager has poked me in the side and said, Kishman, make sure you plug this. The business of KPMG USA as a audit and accounting firm is very heavily regulated by the SEC. We are auditors for publicly traded companies. Your Facebooks, as an example, is a client of KPMG USA. And what that means is that every employee of KPMG USA and KPMG Jamaica have very strict regulations around their personal independence. And independence really is, are they objectively an auditor in appearance and in actuality? And that's a very gray space thing to do, because it's very nuanced. What is independence for me, might look a little different from what's independence for Gloria. And we just started that business with about 14 folks back in May. And
here in Jamaica,
doing that. We're now going to be subject to the SEC coming down to look at our operations periodically. And we knocked that out of the park so well and impressed them.
And just for our listeners' sake, SEC, Security Exchange
Commission, right? And they've been so impressed by what they've seen of us in that space that we have another 30 heads that we've been asked to go out and find. This is just all turning on a dime as we've been it. So, a lot of what makes the business model work for us is that we've been able to deliver and inspire confidence in the KPMG US firm, and they now trust us. And, some of the things which maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they would have been reluctant to say, these are good candidates for going into a remote shared service. They're now embracing that. Or response during the pandemic is perhaps the last thing I'd want to touch on and say it's been.
I'm going to ask you to hold that point, Kishman.
Hold that point.
I want to bring in Nancy. And I think your presentation has really helped us to frame what shared services is. It's a consolidation of different activities within an organization into, say, one location or one service delivery model or service delivery location. So you've touched on logistics, procurement, HR, finance and accounting, project management. You're doing a lot of great things at KPMG. And not just that, but showcasing the productivity of the Jamaican workforce and really making a difference during the pandemic. So I want to congratulate you, but I also want to bring in Nancy now, because you've talked about HR, and Nancy is Vice President Human Resources at Continuum. And I'm going to ask Nancy to tell us about the opportunities that exist in HR outsourcing. Nancy, you need to unmute.
There you go. Okay. I want to thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be part of this fabulous group, and wanted to tell you a little bit about Continuum, what we do, and the opportunities that are available. Continuum is a BPO organization, business process outsourcing. We have 20 plus clients. We're in 15 different countries with probably 14,000 employees. And we provide comprehensive solutions for the complete customer contact experience, including inbound, outbound calls, back office transitions, and digital transition needs for various clients, mostly in the telecom, healthcare, financial services industries. Our mission is to deliver a better customer care experience by building an organization that cares about its people so they can care about our customer. As the entire world went through the tragic and challenging problems with COVID, there have been many changes. We had to very quickly send 14,000 employees home to work. And I can say that we did it very quickly and very successfully. Our clients were amazed. I have to say we were a little amazed ourselves at how well it worked. And, how do you successfully do that, keep people engaged outside of a brick and mortar? That's one of the challenges that everyone has gone through. There were some unexpected changes as a result. So in the past, a lot of the internal functions, as well as our clients, had preconceived notions that certain functions and certain jobs could only be done in an office, in a certain location, in a certain region, or a certain country. All of a sudden they realized, wait a minute, that's not true anymore. So we really have been able to open up a lot of areas that in the past, maybe we haven't been able to do. One of the first things we have done in Jamaica is we moved an HR shared services center over here. And I can tell you, we have probably 35 people working on recruiting around the world, doing HR analysis. And one of the things is it's been so successful because of the quality of the candidates and the experiences that we've had other functional areas look at that and go, wait a minute, we can do that also. We can move finance here. We can move IT here. So we have got quite a few positions. The past 6 months, we've hired probably 23 recruiters, 7 financial analysts, operations management. So we are really opening up the professional side of the BPO organizations outside of the US or other countries. We have immediate need for more recruiters. We have IT positions open. We have security. We have workforce management, as well as the traditional operational management that you find in a call center or a contact center. We're also going to be expanding by the end of the year our training department. So we're going to be looking for some experienced trainers that are going to be responsible for. That's really exciting to us because we've had such great success working with Jamaica, with everyone there. Very proud of them. And we're going to be expanding more and more as we go down the line. So Continuum is a really fast-paced, vibrant environment. Something's going on all the time. We have a lot of opportunities and room for advancement. From somebody who is newly starting their career to someone who may be more experienced, wanting to take on more responsibility, or maybe even go in a different direction. We have that opportunity. One of the things that we say is,
Nancy, let me just ask you quickly. So you're saying that if someone came in as a front office, frontline employee, but they show, capabilities in other areas, such as in your shared services division, they could transition into those areas?
Absolutely. And we have done it many, many times, not only in Jamaica, but globally. So somebody who has the initiative, maybe doesn't have the experience yet or understands the business, they come in, they work, they learn it. We identify high potentials all the time. We are always looking for those people who want to go to the next level. Awesome. That's one of the wonderful things. I can tell you historically, we have people who have started off taking phone calls who are now directors and VPs within the organization. So we definitely look to promote internally. I want to encourage everyone, obviously, to go to the booth that we have or to go to our website to find these opportunities, because we are looking now. Thank you so much.
And you said that you're looking in HR, finance and accounting, IT, and those are all areas that you are upskilling and creating higher value jobs.
Yes, and then expanding it to security, training, workforce management. So we're really building it.
As well as Portmore, right? Are you in Kingston as well?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Great. All right. So, if you're out there and you're listening, there are opportunities. Go and drop off your resume at Continuum's booth.
Absolutely.
You'll just be able to get a job today. All right. So now we're going to hear from Michelle. And, Michelle is head of business support services at Digicel. Now, everyone knows that Digicel is a game changer, a disruptor. They came into Jamaica and they created tremendous opportunities for our mobile telephony market. But Digicel just only doesn't do, it's not just in the mobile market, they're in home entertainment as well. And they're operating in over 33 markets across the Caribbean and other parts of the world. So I'm going to ask Michelle to tell us, a little bit about Digicel and Digicel Shared Services and the opportunities that exist there for job seekers, for persons looking for a job in the shared services market.
Thank you, Gloria. So as Gloria introduced me, my name is Michelle Luck. I actually joined Digicel in September 2019, and I currently live here in Jamaica, in Kingston. As you can probably see from my fair hair, this is not my natural habitat. And at this point in time, it's very warm. But I'm really enjoying living in the Caribbean. As they say, if you're going to be in quarantine and under these sort of difficult conditions, would you rather be in London or would you be in the Caribbean? And I can tell you where everybody says it's best to be. So I thought was asked to tell you a little bit about my background and my career, because obviously I've worked in shared services a long time, and a little bit about how I got here, probably before shared services was ever a twinkle in anybody's eye. But currently my role in Digicel means that I lead the global shared services. We have a mix of in-house and outsourced at the moment. The reason I came in and joined Digicel was to drive a global transformation of the finance organisation on behalf of the global CFO, who is somebody that I have worked with before. I'm also responsible for all of the finance systems and the strategy that they follow. And because of my role and the role that I have in shared services, I'm involved in many business strategic projects. So I always think that, if you join this sort of area, you get an opportunity to work more broadly across the business, which can be really interesting. In terms of my own background, I happen to be a qualified accountant. I have been for the last 30 years, and I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accounting. I've run large operations. The largest has been about 1,600 people. And I've done a lot of systems implementation, upgrading, driving multi-million-dollar programs and projects, all under the guise, really, of this sort of mix of systems and process and operations and shared services. You've kindly told everybody about Digicel. I was going to mention a few things there, but you would probably be interested to know that, as you said, Jamaica was the first. It was the first of the markets. The board meetings are all held here. They're actually held in the room I'm here. The chairman, who is the owner of the company, visits Jamaica a lot, and he has a really strong affection for this particular country because this was where he first set up his company. So prior to joining here, I worked for RELX. RELX is a FTSE, which is the UK Stock Exchange 100 company with a turnover of about 7 billion. And I joined there to lead the global outsourcing of the finance function. And that I did to Genpact initially. And then after about 5 years, I created a captive for RELX, which I put within Manila. And we migrated all of the Genpact services into that captive. And by 2019, when I left, we had about 600 finance professionals. They did everything from AP to cash apps to very many of the higher activities. We did all the stat accounting returns, the tax filings. We had finance planning and analysis people. And because we were a captive, people were very much open to putting more higher value work there. Whereas when you were kind of a bit more in an outsourcing environment, people felt there was a limit to what you could move. But obviously as a captive, you're part of the firm. And I think the other difference, and this is something that I'm doing within Digicel, is that I had overall responsibility for the actuals. So I was responsible for all of the actuals that flowed in. It was my team that did the final sign-off of anything that got posted. And I was obviously ultimately responsible for the accuracy of the balance sheet. And that is the same here within Digicel. Prior to that, I worked in Accenture, and I was talking to Nancy earlier, I worked in a part of the business that was in competition with Nancy's area. So, but interestingly, in that role, I had a couple of different roles. So I was a traditional CFO, responsible for Europe and LATAM. And then I moved into an operational role. So I became the COO for Europe and LATAM. And when I moved to RELX, you could describe me as a poacher turned gamekeeper, because obviously I moved from running shared services for 56 clients globally to creating, working for one company, doing the outsourcing, and then followed by creation of the captive. So I've had a varied career, some CFO, some business partnering, but I've got to say my heart is always with shared service. I love it the best. And I think that's because when you work in shared services, people always strive to do better. And I really love the fact that actually it's central to the overall success of the business.
And if we're doing one of the reasons that shared services do well, because you have to do better to prove that making this decision was the best decision in the first place.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I think it's central to the overall success of any business, having a good, strong shared services. But equally, it's really important that you get it to a life which is uneventful and without crisis. So the best shared services are the ones when people are asked how well are they doing, they almost go, I'm not sure. You know, you want it to be quiet. You want it to be repeatable and almost effortless, because that's the best shared service. For me, a great shared service centre is not just the coalescing of people in one location. It's really about driving what I've created here, which is this the idea of a centres of expertise. So when you join, you're responsible for all markets, and you're there to drive business outcomes. So you're not there just to process an invoice. You're there because you want to pay our vendors on time. That's critical for our business. It's critical for what we do. So what I want to do is encourage people to join who want to seek to constantly improve, educate, and change the business environment needs. And they should see themselves in their respective areas as subject matter experts. So what are we doing in Digicel? Well, we're on a transformation journey. We're deploying
Digicel, Michelle. What are some of the, the personal attributes that you think that persons need to have if they're aspiring for a career in shared services? I mean, based on your experience and, some of what you highlighted here, what would you tell a potential candidate that they need to have as personal attributes to be successful in shared services?
Yeah, so let me just, for me, the most overriding one is to be curious. So curiosity is the value, is the attribute I value the most. There's Albert Einstein explained that his genius, when he was asked about it, was, I have no special talents, I'm just passionately curious. And as we all know, that served him well and probably served mankind well. So that for me is somebody who isn't just doing what they're told to do, but they really want to understand what's the end to end, what is the outcome, and how can I make it better. I think they've got to not be afraid to challenge the status quo, but they need to do that in a very professional and productive manner. So it's not about throwing your toys out of the pram, it's about working collaboratively with people. I think obviously you've got to have an interest in working as part of a team. It's a very team-orientated environment. Actually wanting to help out each other. We want people to sort of say, okay, look, I haven't got as much to do today, or you've been off and you've got a backlog. Let's all work together for the aim of the business. So some of the things that I see about the shared service centre is about making sure that people feel that my vision is that the language is really important. So as I say, I want people to feel they're in a centre of expertise and that they bring that every day to work. They're not, and I really dislike the term transactional processing centre, because it kind of makes it sound like you're just doing something that anybody could do, and that's not true. Technology is really good today.
Creativity and unscripted input.
I want people to feel, and they've got to have this mindset, that they are responsible and accountable. They're not there to do what they're instructed to do. Ultimately, in Digicel, you are the final arbiter of what gets posted into the ledger, frankly. So you need to feel an element of responsibility and accountability for what you do every day. Another thing that we're very lucky because we're working in a captive environment, is that I want people to come in every day and aim to do 100%. Now, I understand we all make mistakes. I understand we all fall short, but I want people to not be satisfied with falling short. And I want them to really go, well, okay, well, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? What was the root cause? How can I improve it? So the idea that, 98% is good enough is not what I want the mindset to be. I always want people to drive for effectiveness. In this environment, we talk a lot about efficiency, but I really believe if you're effective in what you do, frankly, we'll always be efficient in what we do. So it's always led from the idea of what is effective. And that if you join Digicel, you'll be joining part of what I see as a professional team. And ultimately, you are the guardians of the Digicel accounts. We have no axe to grind. I haven't got a budget to meet. We're there to ensure that we are doing things correctly according to accounting standards, and following and ensuring we follow policy.
Are you recruiting now, Michelle?
We are absolutely recruiting now. We're recruiting, actually going to be recruiting several hundred roles actually over the coming months. And if you're interested in joining Digicel, you can go onto digicelgroup.com, and there is a little button at the top called careers. And I actually went in and looked this morning. You can see lots of finance roles within there. Equally, if you want to, you can write to me. It's michelle.luck, and my email address is michelle.luck@digicelgroup.com. So we are moving on to Workday, which is a new ERP. So that's a new and exciting. Lots of people here use things like Great Plains, but Workday is like SAP and Oracle. It's cloud-based, it's modern. You can fully drill down to all the base transactions. We've got one global instance, which we're deploying. We're live in one market. We're about to go live in another 4. We're placing HFM with Workday for real-time consolidation. We're moving to a new planning and budgeting tool, much more driver-based. And we're creating a whole set of kite-marked reports. So all of these things allow us, this transformation journey allows us then to have a really effective shared service centre, which I think will be a really exciting place to join. And of course, you'll be joining at the very beginning, which is always a really exciting time to join.
Absolutely.
So that's Digicel.
Digicel is creating more excitement beyond mobile telephones and entertainment.
Absolutely.
For our jobs.
And I should have also said that we are really keen to develop people. So one of the things I've been talking to Jampro about as well is that, we want to bring in people. We want to make sure they're well trained. And for some people, we obviously want to sponsor them through their accounting qualification, so that they can not only support us and see a career within Digicel, and maybe at some point they will actually, leave Jamaica and go to one of the other islands and move into a finance and planning and analysis, having had this richness of knowledge that they will have gained through the shared service centre experience.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Michelle. So back to you, Kishman. We've heard from Michelle and Nancy, some of the attributes that have made their shared services operations successful. You have chronicled many of the attributes that have made your experience in Jamaica very, very successful, moving from 200 to over 300 and growing, with tremendous opportunities for Jamaican tertiary graduates who are looking for opportunities in this global services sector. I must say that one of the reasons we changed our name from BPIAJ to Global Services Association of Jamaica was to be more representative of the diversity and the great opportunities that exist, because many persons really only know the BPO sector for customer service and front office work, but a lot is happening in the shared services environment. And Kishman, you have spoken to that. You are one of Jamaica's, your KPMG
the premier
is one of Jamaica's success stories. And you were about to share with us some of the great opportunities that exist there that I'm sure our job seekers are eager to hear about. So let's hear back from you.
Right. So in terms of what we're in the market for, so I think my recruiting manager tells me we have somewhere in the region of about 80 roles open today. And those range across the full spectrum of HR, finance and accounting, marketing. But among the midst, there are really two very big programs that we're kicking off. One of them that I was sharing with you earlier is the bit of work we started to do with what we call personal independence. And it's really how we help C-suite executives in the KPMG US business to make sure that from an SEC perspective, they are in good stead and there is no exposure to the firm. And we started that program with about 14 folks. We've been asked to go out and get another 30. So we're looking for people. So please use that booth today to get interested. I saw some of the commentary in the chat. I was reading the chat while we were going, and some of the folks were citing concerns that most of the jobs we're talking about in shared service requires experience, but we asked for a degree. And I want to make sure we demystify that. I know for KPMG Jamaica, all of these career paths that I'm telling you about, we have different entry points at which a candidate can join. And at our lowest entry point, which is
maybe you should highlight the different entry points for some of the different positions.
Right. Yeah. Right. So the very lowest entry point we have is something we call a junior officer. And the junior officer is really designed for people with zero work experience. It is designed for somebody not only with zero work experience, but without a first degree. So the idea there is that somebody who perhaps has left high school with strong competence, capability, because that's what we're looking for in that situation is you don't have qualifications, you don't have experience, you better come with some strong competences. So we've moved from making competency assessment subjective, and we use a tool today called eScale where all of our applicants go through, and that gives an objective assessment of where the candidate is strongest and where they play best. And, really, that's the entry point. So the entry point is no experience, no first degree. Most of our team members join us above that level, though. Most of our team members join at the assistant officer level. And at the assistant officer level, what we expect you to bring qualification, bring great competences, but you might not yet be experienced. So we're going to work with you here. And our programs internally are designed to do that. Every KPMG officer entering our company has access to study grants. And what the study grant ensures is that you have over 4 years, 800,000 Jamaican dollars to put towards your continuing education, $200,000 a year.
And so, is there a quid pro quo to that? Are they required to stay on the job for 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Not to
that grant?
Well, there are some requirements of it, of course, as you imagine, we're making an investment, but suffice it to say, you're not handcuffed to us for an eternity once we do it, Then in addition to that, there are team members who join us already, with their master's degree, no desire to go further. So for those employees, we have a program of continuing education where every employee gets 40 hours every year for their own personal and development training. And that's whatever you choose. We have several learning management platforms that you can go on and pursue whatever your interest is aligned with work. And we really encourage that. I hope that by exploring that, I've kind of demystified that for job seekers that, the shared service careers don't only start with saying, you must be qualified and you must have experience. We have opportunities along the spectrum. Now, without question, you'll see us post a number of jobs in management. In management, we absolutely are looking for the best of both worlds. We're looking for experience and we're looking for, some certification and qualification. And I think that's just, a good practice in business. Right.
Okay. So we have a few minutes before we go. I'm not seeing the chat. I don't know if I am missing something. But I want to ask my panelists to, kind of say to our audience out there, what are the opportunities they're seeing for Jamaica in the shared services space? So we have Continuum, who, of course, has consolidated some of their HR processes and recruitment. And even though they are, more in the BPO space in Jamaica, they are creating great opportunities in shared services. We have Digicel, whom we have known for many, many years in Jamaica, that they provide a variety of services here on this landscape. And there are tremendous opportunities now for Jamaican graduates who are seeking to enter into the fields of finance and accounting, in data analytics, and not just shared services, because people see it as a job. They're looking at the specific job titles that they will hold. And of course, Kishman has shared a multiplicity of opportunities at KPMG. But tell us, Nancy, starting with you, what are the opportunities aggregately that you're seeing for Jamaica as a country to continue to thrive in this shared services space?
Well, as I said, you know, one of the things that has come out of COVID is it's changed people's mindset and perception. So especially because, as you mentioned, you're within a U.S. time zone. It's near shore. English is the first language. Very educated, experienced, qualified people. So in our organization, people are having the light bulb go off and go, wait a minute. You know, I think Kishman was talking about how India was really being a center of outsourcing. And we obviously have stuff there. People are going, why aren't we going here? We have the people, we have the qualifications. So IT, finance are looking very hard at Jamaica as one of their centers of excellence that they would like to look for.
There you go. Michelle? Michelle, I think you're muted.
So I think one of the important things that I've noticed when I'm here is that people are very good at standing up and saying, well, wait a minute, I don't agree with that. And that is actually somewhat different to when you deal in India, where people are a little bit more quieter in coming forward. So actually for me, the light bulb moment is that actually people have the ability and are not afraid to stand up and say, well, wait a minute, couldn't we do this differently? They're prepared to share and everything else. And I was just looking at our website. We've got a number of roles that are available today, from continuous improvement managers to cash and bank analysts to general accounting managers. There's a whole range of things that people can apply for, but come in and then feel that they've got a career. We're going to be offering some training and make sure that we take people on a journey. And as I say, I'm really keen that people don't come for a job. They kind of see that if they join, they can actually have a career within Digicel, because obviously for us, that knowledge you learn as you go through your journey is equally and becomes more and more important and valuable as you continue your career within the organization. So
thank you very much, Michelle. And it's not just a career in Digicel Jamaica, but it can be a career outside of Jamaica for those persons who
absolutely, yes.
Thank you. So, Kishman, you have 1 minute to, really just say what you're seeing aggregately for Jamaica in the shared services space. Clearly, you are a game changer and you're making serious advancements in this area. But Jamaica on a whole, where do you see us?
Right. At the expense of not repeating what Michelle and Nancy said, I'll touch on a slightly different end of the scale and say that one of the things job seekers really ought to think about is technology and automation will and has been replacing some of the simple routine parts of shared service and BPOs. So ultimately what's left is really gray space jobs. It's jobs that require thinking. You heard Michelle talk about curiosity.
Yes.
So, as students, as potential job seekers, these are some of the competencies you have to cultivate and get adept in. Everybody will have degree X or Y, but are you that imaginative, creative problem solver that's able to get very loose parameters and be able to solve for the outcome? So the days of reading the script is done.
And on that note, I would say that there is, of course, distinct differences between BPO and shared services. In BPO, we're talking about third-party vendors, probably based in a location, providing services to multiple clients. Not that shared services doesn't, but shared services is more autonomous, usually based and consolidated in one location. And as you've heard, some of the attributes that you'll be required to have outside, of course, of the academic skills, curiosity. I mean, you being a kind of person who is driven to excellence and driven by success, exceptional performance. You're not necessarily need to be scripted. This has been a great discussion, and time has come upon us, ladies and gentlemen, but this has been a great discussion. There are tremendous opportunities for our job seekers out there. Visit the booth at Continuum and KPMG. I don't know if KPMG has a booth, but if they do, you've heard of the opportunities to apply for a job. Digicel has several vacancies coming up, and you've heard from Michelle where you can go and apply for those jobs. The Global Services Skills Project will continue for many, many more years, even out beyond the project, to provide opportunities for Jamaican job seekers. This career fair has been widely promoted and clearly has done very well in bringing people together. And I think the opportunities are endless. I'm sure we will have more of these discussions going forward. So I want to thank you, my panelists, for your contributions toward this discussion, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.